Welcome to Pod Me If You Can. Lloyd, what's the obscure film with a famous star today?
The film I chose for this week's review is Pandorum, starring Dennis Quaid and Ben Foster.
Pardon me if you can. Movie reviews.
Corporal Bauer wakes up from hypersleep in a giant, dark, damaged spaceship named Elysium, with only fragments of his memory in effect from hypersleep. He cleans himself up and tries to piece together what has happened. Lieutenant Peyton, played by Dennis Quaid, wakes up next, and Bauer helps him, and the two work together to try and find out what has happened. Bauer discovers that something has gone very, very wrong with the ship. There are some kind of monsters roaming around hunting survivors. It is unknown to many how long they've been awake or where they are headed. The film also stars former middleweight Strikeforce champion Kung Lee and, of course, Anya Trow, who's the beauty from the super hot villain chick from Man of Steel. Don't act like you don't remember her, fellas. She was absolutely fantastic. Dave and I have reviewed over 50 movies on this YouTube channel, and mostly I'd say they're terrible movies. Rarely do I come across gems like Music of Chance and Kill Cruise, but this film Pandorum has really upped the level for me. This is one of the best horror science fiction movies I have ever seen. It was made for $33 million and it bombed miserably at the box office, grossing only $23 million worldwide. The film was produced by Paul W.S. Anderson and was directed by German director Christian Alvert. They really dodged a bullet there. Many people have heavily criticized this movie. In fact, this movie only scored about 28% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is absolutely insane. The main thrust of criticism is that the film derives too much from other films of this genre, mainly, of course, Alien, Event Horizon, and Sunshine. Pandorum shares many similarities to survival horror games such as System Shock 2 and Resident Evil. As Corporal Bauer sneaks around the ship while Lieutenant Peyton informs him via radio link on where to go, it shares many mechanics of video games where the players venture into the horror, but they are aided or informed where to go by a friendly AI or a commander. The action horror encounters, I agree, are very derivative of the conventions of this genre, mainly of course set by the godfather of horror sci-fi, Alien, where you have this deep, dark ship and this alien roaming around it, and of course all the chase sequences. But Pandorum has many layers to it that make it exciting and most of all intelligent. The ship Elysium is so vast that it bends and twists into many characters defining its inhabitants. There is a terrifying sequence where Corporal Bauer is crawling through the air ducts of the ship and it is crowded with endless large tubes, and there is a moment where he gets stuck, almost swallowed by the internals of the ship. He struggles to breathe and cries out to help for his lieutenant. The scene was such a claustrophobic nightmare that it had me gasping for air. I wanted to break out in spatial freedom. The ship is a cold, dark labyrinth of hell that resembles the mindset of many of the characters. What I think separates Pandorum from many other science fiction movies is how it depicts the psychology of space travel. It questions how our fragile human minds could handle the oblivion of deep space travel, as well as the effects of hypersleep. Not only do our inhabitants have to deal with the environmental issues of the ship, as well as the monsters that lurk within it, but they also have to deal with madness, which in the film's universe labels as Pandorum, an effect of deep space travel that causes the astronauts to go insane, often turning on the crew members very violently. It is implied that almost all the human characters of the ship Elysium have symptoms of the condition. There are deep philosophical layers to Pandorum as well, especially to morality and the fragility of duty amidst the chaos of oblivion. There is a strong level of mythology here as well, in a wonderful scene where a character explains exactly what happened on Elysium through these cave-like paintings on the wall. The action scenes, specifically the fight scenes in this movie, are really sublime. Kung Lee, an MMA champion renowned for his elaborate kicks and punches, engages in some of the most violent and exciting fight scenes I have ever seen. scene. Anya Trow, who has obviously proven herself with Man of Steel to be this beautiful, sexy action star who takes fight choreography and makes it really awesome. Without giving too much away, I think the monsters in this film were really unique. I haven't seen too many, in fact I can't think of any science fiction movies which had monsters like the ones depicted in here. And most of all, there was no CGI for the monsters as well, all practical effects, which is really great to see in a modern movie. I can't talk too much about the monsters, sorry, because I don't want to give too much away. Pandorum was set to be a trilogy, but because of the poor performance of this film at the box office, it looks like that's definitely not going to happen, which I think is a good thing, because the film ends with a lot of unanswered questions, but has this amazing quality of relief and most of all hope. The only criticism I have against the movie is maybe the last scene. Some of the choreography there was a little bit weak, but who am I kidding? This is one of the best films I have ever seen, one of the best horror science fiction films I've ever seen. Well done to everyone who was in it. I think it was excellent, and I hope it grows to be a cult favorite.
Wow. So the whole time you were talking, all I was going to ask was what the aliens looked like.
I can't give it away.
But you don't want to talk about it. So I was just going to ask if Dennis Quaid or Ben Foster is the lead. Who's the lead of the film?
Ben Foster.
Okay, so is Dennis Quaid not in it much?
Dennis Quaid's actually in it heaps, but the main driving force of the film is Ben Foster. He's like the legs getting through the ship, while Dennis Quaid is almost seated the entire time, telling him where to go. But there is a big twist there, which I can't spoil.
Alright guys, maybe one to check out this time.
Definitely.
Not just an obscure film you've never heard of. $33 million budget's
yeah,
nice.
it's pretty good, but it failed miserably, and I don't think many people have seen it. In fact, it went straight to DVD, and I got a 4-pack of horror movies here, and most of these movies I've never heard of. Only Pandorum looks like the decent one to watch with a pretty good star.
Well, you can find more from us at www.podmeifyoucan.com.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Check out our podcast at www.podmeifyoucan.com.